find Democrats always do things to help the people. Republicans pass policies to help the ultra rich. So Trump cancels airlines don't have to compensate you anymore if if you're stranded or you miss your not even miss your flight, but if your flight gets canceled, they don't have to comp you a hotel, whatever. When the whole crash happened in 2008, Obama put in these watchdogs to make sure it doesn't happen again, make sure banks follow rules, make sure banks don't give out these crazy loans. And then why vote for the party that always finds screws over the little guys? This is one thing I find Republicans, a lot of difference between Republicans and Democrats. It seems I find Democrats always do things to help the people. Republicans pass policies to help the ultra rich or the big companies.
You find?
I find. So Trump cancels airlines don't have to compensate you anymore if if you're stranded or you miss your not even miss your flight, but if your flight gets canceled, they don't have to comp you a hotel, whatever. Just they don't have to compensate. And you pass this law.
Would require airlines to compensate passengers for flight delays. So the Trump DOT is dropping a plan that would require airlines to compensate passengers for flight delays.
And guess who's celebrating? Time and time again, Trump is putting corporations over everyone else.
So how do you feel about why is it so important for Trump to roll back rules or laws? Mm-hmm. Why would you want to repeal that? Why this whole idea about deregulation is a good thing for business? Yeah, it's good for business. They don't have to dish out money anymore when
make more money.
But so is this something for the people? Obviously not. Is this something for corporations? And how do you guys feel about that? Is this blatant a president or an administration that values more? I'm sure Trump didn't come up with it. I'm sure this is lobbyist stuff. I'm sure someone from the airline companies lobbied senators or congressmen, and it went up to Trump, and Trump signed anyways. So when you see something like this, how do you feel? Do you think it's a good thing to give benefits to corporations so they're more profitable, for the idea thinking that if they're more profitable, they'll hire more people? That's always the idea when they do these kind of things.
I don't think that's why he's doing it. And correct me if I'm wrong, because I don't really follow him that much in regards to his policies. I think these corporations helped him get elected. So this is his return to saying, okay, you helped me get elected. However, they ended up funding him, and he's helping them out by.
For sure, for sure, that's exactly what happened. There was some quid pro quo for him doing this, for him to pass these or roll back these kind of rules.
So it makes sense, right?
Yeah, but I guess my point is, why do people always vote for not an administration, but a party that always thinks deregulating stuff is a good thing? Deregulating bank rules. When the whole crash happened in 2008, Obama put in these watchdogs to make sure it doesn't happen again, make sure banks follow rules, make sure banks don't give out these crazy loans, and then, the whole story of giving out bad loans. And what's the first thing that Trump did in his first term is roll back those rules.
And people voted for it, right? Him to end.
Well, they didn't vote for it when that happened. He just did that when he got voted in. But the party, why I vote for the party that always finds screws over the little guys?
I have your answer. You know why people are voting for these parties and then they end up getting screwed? This is the problem. Because people right now are so entrenched in their tablet and their phone. They listen to whatever they might be looking at, and they believe, and then they're not conscious of everything else and the bigger picture. And that's what the problem is. Woke and all this stuff. People have to, if they get off this and start opening up their minds to the bigger picture and researching it and looking at viable information, stuff like this wouldn't happen. And it's not only people, even you see it with kids. They're always on their phone, on social media. The stuff that's there, you can't be just looking at that all the time. You're excluding yourself from the rest of the world and from proper information, or even from conversing with somebody and trying to understand how something is. And that's how people are making decisions, votes, or whatever based on based on something that they're not fully educated on, or they don't know any better.
But also,
this is the problem.
You're absolutely right on a lot of points you said, but also the Republicans were very effective in making it seem that regulations is a bad thing. They're very effective of making it seem that it's too much government overreach.
Yeah.
So the idea of like deregulating stuff means they feel like they're going to be more
But
free.
if that's all you're hearing from them, you're going to believe it. But if you're not hearing anything else, they can say whatever they want. You'll believe that's what it is. You're 100% right.
To me, that's what it is. They became pros at making you believe that regulation is a bad thing. And most of the times, regulation are not for regular people. It's for companies not to extort people, not to screw over people, to have some sort of, some sort of respectability when they're doing business. But for some reason, they think regulations, it's the government trying to control your lives. They're trying to control what you do or what you don't do. And they're masterful at drilling down to people's brains that regulation is a bad thing.